Hi, welcome to Tamika's Story Time. Today I'm sharing with you a story based on Roseanne Quinn. This is a story that's been told many times, but I would like to share this story to shed a new light on this particular woman's life. This is a story on Roseanne Quinn. She was found deceased in her apartment with 18 stab wounds to her chest. She was raped and she had a broomstick plunged into her vagina. And this story, I'm going to give you the backdrop of what happened to this woman. This was a woman who was ahead of her time. She was a professional single woman who lived alone and who dated freely, if you will. When she did not show up for work 2 days in a row, her co-workers grew concerned about her whereabouts because it was unusual for this woman not to show up for work. She taught the students at St. Joseph Academy for the deaf, children who were deaf. She was a phenomenal teacher, phenomenal co-worker, if you will, and a devoted individual to whatever it is that she signed on for. So they knew that something was wrong when she didn't show up. So they called the authorities to have them do a welfare check on her. And when the police arrived to her apartment, they found her door ajar. So they entered. When they didn't get any response, they entered into her apartment and they discovered this horrific crime. Immediately upon opening her bedroom door, they discovered the woman laying on her bed with a broom hanging from between her legs. She was covered in blood from 18 stab wounds. Once the detectives were in the home, the police were crawling in this building. The neighbors discovered that she was deceased and began to whisper unflattering tones about this woman. Oh, she had it coming. She was always searching for Mr. Goodbar. These neighbors and people spread this tone so freely and so wildly around about this woman that a book was created about this particular crime, and it was called Searching for Mr. Goodbar. And it was created in a undertone of a promiscuous woman who was out prowling for a man and got viciously murdered. Well, the true nature of the crime may be depicted accurately, but this was not this woman's identity. This woman was, by all accounts, from her family, friends, and co-workers, of a loving, caring, nurturing woman who lived alone, who was a woman ahead of her time. Back in 1973, women's liberation was in its infancy, and socially unacceptable for a single woman to bring a man home. And this is what this woman was initially scrutinized by her neighbors for doing. They decided not to give any relevancy to her life because of the lifestyle that she was living, which was socially unacceptable back then. What's done today is socially unacceptable then. And so they gave the crime and the way that she was killed as a crime of she had it coming sort of mentality, if you will. And no one's deserved to be killed like that, and surely not a woman to be desecrated the way that this woman, not only her body, but her name to be destroyed. Roseanne Quinn went out on New Year's night, New Year's Eve, to bring the new year in, like so many people do. Back then, she was at a bar, a local bar that she often attended, and just to sit and mingle with other patrons and bartenders. They knew her well, and they all gave the same account. She was a good, decent, loving woman. She would mingle with others. Other times she would sit at the table at the bar, if you will, and read a book and have a drink. So this is the woman we're talking about. And this particular night, she did leave with a man. And this man, they gave a description of. And during them giving the description of this man, they also mentioned that he was not alone. He was with another man. And this is how they narrowed down to come to find out who this man was. And it ended up being John Wayne Wilson, who ended up murdering, going home with Roseanne Quinn that night, and ultimately murdering her. And when they narrowed it down to him, they pulled him in to the interrogation room, where they questioned, why did you kill this woman and what happened? And when he gave his confession, he went into details of what happened that night. He mentioned that he was not aroused during the time where they were trying to get into something, and this upset Roseanne, and she began to call him names. This is what he said. She began to call him names, and she wouldn't let up, and he became aggravated, and he slapped her. And when he slapped her, she began to cry, and she laid on the bed crying. And as she's laying on the bed crying, he walks into her kitchen and grabs a knife, and he comes back and he commits to stabbing this woman. And he stabbed her in a frenzy and ended up stabbing her 18 times. And after he stabbed her, he grabbed the broom, which was the closest thing to him, and he shoved the broom into her vagina and left out the apartment. When the detective brought to his attention that they know that he had sex with her because his semen was inside of her. If he did that and left the apartment, how did his semen get inside of her? He then confessed that he did have sex with her after he killed her and before he inserted that broom into her vagina, and that he was a closeted homosexual man, and this is why he could not become aroused. And when she began to call him names and became aggravated by his inability, it triggered him, and he, by his all accounts, he blacked out and he went on a frenzy and he killed her the way that he did. And this woman was not credited for the things that she did in life, but instead she was demonized for being a single professional woman during a time where being a single professional woman was not a good light to be in, or a good stage to be in in that era in 1973. And that she brought a man home and entertainment in the privacy of her own home, which was socially unacceptable. And she became more demonized for her social lifestyle than acknowledged for the person that she was and the victim that she became through the invitation of this man, this monster, if you will, not man, but monster, because you have to be a monster to do that to anyone, a woman. So he was battling his own vices, and he took them out on her. And this woman lost her life tragically. And this is why I'm sharing her story in 2023, what happened in 1973. So I say, again, a cautionary tale. It's for all single women, all single ladies. Do not bring anyone into your personal space. You may be flattered by this person's look. This, by all accounts, this was a nice looking man. He didn't look like a monster. He didn't present himself like a monster. He was well dressed, well groomed, looked very handsome, blonde hair, blue eyes. This woman was going on what she seen and brought the wrong man home. And this man took her life viciously. And if he was not interested in women, he shouldn't have never went home with that woman. But needless to say, this is for a cautionary tale for us all. It could happen to any one of us. It happened to her back then. It's not limited to no one today. It can happen to any one of us. It's all in the mindset of the individual that you are in contact with. So be careful, be very cautious and apprehensive in bringing anyone to your home. By any means, don't bring no one to your home, because that's your sanctuary. Don't allow anyone in your home. This is your sanctuary. We must be more conscientious of that and take that into consideration before we take our desires and our hormones begin to jump and we want what we want when we want it. And it sometimes lead us down a path of destruction. And if I learned anything from this woman's story, this is what I've learned, to be apprehensive in bringing anyone to your home, and definitely anyone into your body, your sanctuary. I give my prayers and condolence go out to this woman's loved ones and everyone connected to this woman who have been affected by this woman's story, life, and any shape, size, or form. This was a tragedy, and this is a story that I felt need to be retold with a sense of compassion, with a sense of empathy, and with a sense of awareness and credibility to this woman's life. The joy that she brought to those children who she taught, who were deaf, who were special needs. She gave so much love and support, care, and she was nurturing to those individuals. Her co-workers loved her because she was an ear to hear, not just for the people who were unable to hear her voice, but to the people who were able to speak to the children, to her and their loved ones and their family. She was that ear for them. So this is a life that needed to be, and facts that needed to be presented to this case, and I wanted to do so. And I pray that you have been blessed by this story and that you take heed to this story, because this was a very graphic crime in nature, and it was a very violent act put on against a woman, a professional woman, a woman nonetheless. It was done to a woman, and it shouldn't be done to anyone, but nonetheless, surely not a woman. This woman's body was desecrated, as well as her name, and this is why I needed to refresh this story, to put a more gentle approach to it. And I hope that I have. And I say that I appreciate you for stepping in and listening to my story time. I pray that you be a blessing to someone, and that you continue to allow God to be a blessing in your life, to stay close to God, walk close to God, because he sees and knows much more than we could ever know, and he can protect us from the seen, from the known and the unknown. And with that, I say again, do not take anyone home. Do not bring anyone into your home. Be apprehensive and letting people into your personal space, especially when it's time for a romantic situation. This is my tea. This is my super greens. I like to put in my tea for whole body cleanse. I say we have to take care of our mind, our body, and our soul. The absence of God is the presence of the devil. Don't ever forget it. Keep God close in your walk, in your daily walk, and he will keep you safe, protected, and guarded against those things and those forces that we cannot see, feel, or hear. I say be blessed. Stick around with your girl. I got more story time to give you, more testimony tells, if you will, and more blessings in one shape, size, or another. Be blessed, God bless, and I'll talk to you later.